Once upon a time, there were two teenage girls, Eve and Lilith. Eve was 16 and Lilith was 17. They were best friends and had been since they were little. One day, Eve and Lilith decided to go on an adventure. They packed their bags and set off on a journey. Little did they know, their adventure would lead them into a world of danger and excitement. The two girls traveled for days, exploring the countryside and meeting new people. Everywhere they went, they were welcomed with open arms.
One night, while camping in the woods, they were approached by a group of men. The men were looking for someone and they thought Eve and Lilith might be the ones they were looking for.
The men were bounty hunters and they were looking for a fugitive. They had heard that Eve and Lilith were on the run and they wanted to bring them in. Eve and Lilith were terrified. They had no idea what to do.
They had no way to escape and no way to fight back. Suddenly, Eve had an idea. She grabbed Lilith's hand and ran. The two girls ran as fast as they could, dodging trees and jumping over logs. They ran until they reached a nearby town. Once in the town, Eve and Lilith found a place to hide. They stayed in the shadows and kept quiet. They knew that if the bounty hunters found them, they would be in serious trouble. The next day, Eve and Lilith heard that the bounty hunters had been arrested. They had been caught trying to break into a house. Eve and Lilith were relieved, but they knew they still weren't safe. The two girls decided to leave town and find a new place to live. They traveled for days, until they finally found a small village. The village was peaceful and the people were friendly. Eve and Lilith decided to stay and make a new life for themselves. For the next few years, Eve and Lilith lived in the village. They worked hard and kept to themselves. They were happy and content. One day, however, their past caught up with them. The bounty hunters had been released from prison and they were looking for Eve and Lilith. Eve and Lilith knew they had to run again. They packed their bags and set off on another journey. This time, they were determined to find a place where they could be safe and free. Finally, after weeks of traveling, Eve and Lilith found a small island. It was the perfect place to hide. They settled down and started a new life. Eve and Lilith lived on the island for many years. They were happy and content. They had finally escaped justice and found a place where they could be free.